an absolutely wonderful evening in every way imaginable.
Were you really surprised by Hillary? Tell us the truth.
I was really surprised.
She pulled it off.
This has never happened to me. I was flying back from Seattle last night, and at the moment on the plane when we could turn on our Blackberries and see all the emails we hadn't read, I did that. And I found her schedule, and I noticed that she was not heading to Andrews tonight as she was supposed to. So I immediately emailed the scheduler, and I said, what gives? She's not going to Andrews. And it was a murderous day. She has had one of the most unimaginably demanding days.
You're still her chief of staff.
And I am. Once a staffer, always a staffer. And the response I got was, well, you know, it's just been such a long day, there's no way she can get out of town. And it never occurred to me why she might not be leaving tonight.
It's so great.
So she's leaving very early in the morning.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I need to get some questions off because, you know, we have a clock and it ticks, and I think, you know, everybody's been talking about the testimony tomorrow for the treaty that's called CEDAW. And some of us might not know exactly what the treaty is intended to do. So could you give us a short briefing and then tell us that you need 67 votes to get it passed?
And that's one of our problems, one of our challenges. It is the global treaty to enshrine women's rights as human rights. It is to eliminate discrimination against women in all of its forms. Wherever I travel, I am never not asked, why has the United States not ratified CEDAW? Wherever I go.
Now, are we one of a few that haven't? Or?
We are one of 6 countries, 3 of whom I think I would describe as pariah states. Iran, Sudan, and Somalia. That is the company we keep. And 3 tiny islands in the Pacific.
Really? And that's it? And us?
That is it and us.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, we all sit here and we might not think, so we've got lots of rights. Women in this country, we still have a way to go. But we have great laws, thanks in large measure to the center. We've got good policies behind us. But the world knows us as not having ratified CEDAW. And we really need to anchor that moral high ground. That is who we are. We are the beacon for human rights and women's equality and non-discrimination. And we are really impeded on the world stage in fighting some of the worst atrocities around the world because we are not in league with all of the countries that have ratified.
What is the reason that we haven't?
Well, there's a whole mythology that's developed around this treaty. It's going to undermine the family. It's going to take away homeschooling. It's going to create every kind of terrible happening that one could imagine that impacts what we are about as Americans. None of that is true. And we do need a supermajority in the Senate, and it has been very difficult. And I think, frankly, because of the kind of pressure that the opponents can bring to bear, that oftentimes some of our politicians feel, well, why should we even bother to vote on it? It will only cause us a lot of grief. And so it's very important for good people every place to say, it's time. It's time America ratified the Women's Rights Treaty and stood with women all over the world who are undergoing some of the worst discrimination, human rights violations, degradation, and violence than one could imagine.
Well, is the Law Center, are you putting your efforts?
We have been, again, a great coalition in this room of people who have been really feel as if the urgency of the moment when we are confronted with little girls trying to go to school and have acid thrown in their face, and what we hear, to pick up on your question, Leslie, about, well, what's the opposition? Well, I just saw some opposition today. It's going to mean the end of Mother's Day. And that was the lead.
No.
Crazy and ridiculous. And 100 ratifying countries have Mother's Day in some form today. And CEDAW ratification has not meant the end of Mother's Day, and we, of course, have Mother's Day and Father's Day, so we could be entirely comfortable. But that's the level of the debate. And I know that many people in this room they've never heard of CEDAW.
No.
And it's so hard, the amplification of what these issues are, to make sure, because we know that there is enormous public support for it, and it's bipartisan support, and it's men and it's women, it's evangelicals, but again, it's one of these issues that if we step back and let others be the ones who are defining the debate,
right,
then we aren't able to make the progress we need to make.
And Leslie, if I could just add, because the center has done so much to help women in America to achieve their rightful place and have their rights protected. But what the center has done as part of the Leadership Council on Human Rights in terms of taking on this fight at this time, this debate, with Marcia's leadership here on this issue, is truly laudable. So,
well.